welcome back to Case Closed, Anime Review, episode number 108. This review quite possibly one of the worst episodes I've seen for the series in some time. Oh good god, this episode. This episode is called Intrigue at the Smile Village. Yes, you want to know how bad this episode is? Okay. First we see, it looks like this place called the Smile Village. A high-class nursing home. Interesting. We see a limo pull up, and our limo is Conan. You're probably thinking, what the heck is going on here? Like, why is Conan riding up in a limo? And he walks to another room. He's brought there by the people who run the place, the director and administrator, husband and wife duo, who are constantly smiling. And of course, they later mentioned this. They found this very creepy. And they mentioned, oh yeah, all the detective boys are here? And they're like, yep. And I'm like, no. Oh boy. Yes. Let me explain this. Okay. They actually missed one person. Where the heck is Hybra in this episode? Yes, she's also a member of the group. And yet she's nowhere to be seen this episode. Not even mentioned by name. I'm like, really? Did the writers this episode forget Hybra exists? Because it seems like they did. By the way, how did these ladies find out about Detective Boys? Well, they apparently were riding on a tour bus to Baka City. It's a section of Tokyo. Yeah, the section is named after Baker Street. Yes, because the creator of the series is a big Sherlock Holmes fan. And they just happen to see them eating crochets. I'm like, interesting. So they see 4 first graders, well, mostly 4 7-year-olds, eating food, and that somehow became idols. Like, did they read their exploits? They must have, because they don't mention that in this episode. Oh my gosh. So each one of these kids are brought to their respective rooms. Conan's brought to the first one, and where it's kind of like nothing really special this one, and it says like you see a lullaby and she goes fast to sleep. Okay, we see with these other ones. Now in the case of what Micho was up to, he apparently was given a bunch of food for his, and yeah, tries to deliver food's like, please excuse me, and that's it for him. Ami's a little more interesting because it looked like though that the lady looked like maybe a paleontologist. Oh no, it's like, oh, let me show up my collection. A collection of dentures with diamonds in it. Wouldn't that be uncomfortable, walking around with teeth full of frickin' diamonds? I mean, yeah, they may look nice, and by the way, she also said, oh yeah, let me try some ventriloquism. Okay, last time I checked, ventriloquism, one of the basic rules I've heard about ventriloquism, if you're going to pull up ventriloquist act, please, for the love of God, don't move your damn lips. Because her lips were clearly moving. Because when you do ventriloquism, you're supposed to basically have your mouth a little bit open, where your lips are not supposed to move. That's what I've heard from constantly many fictions featuring ventriloquism. And apparently the animators probably didn't know that. Either that or they just completely forgot that. It's just no lady playing with her dentures. Okay. Mitchell, of course, his was kind of like a super spy one. Conan would like this one because got all the gadgets. Conan would love this one. Yes. Which I'm kind of like, I kind of think as though that these kids were given the wrong people to be sort of the grandmothers for a day. In the case of the first one, that probably, now in the case of the food one, that should have gone to Genta. It should have gone to him, not friggin' Micho. Ami herself, I would probably give her the one that Conan has. Mm-hmm. Yes. That's one I would probably give. I'm sorry I keep moving this thing up and down, but okay, that's a little better. Yeah. And I'll give Conan the one again to get that one might be a lot more interesting because I'm sure he went so fast able with the gadgets. Like, oh yeah, by the way, this lady, first thing Genta does right after he enters her room, he pinches his butt. He's like, why did you do that for? She's felt like, oh, pain. I'm like, really, lady? You'll give an actual reason why you pinched a little boy's butt? Like, that is uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. and she doesn't bother to give a reason why. Oh yeah, she got a jetpack, and he's like, he just runs away from the room. And of course, Conan decided to leave. Have excuse to use the bathroom. By the way, there's this guy named Odin. Oh my gosh, this guy. It's like his run is like something like Habla Hop, like basically how to be a speedrunner. It's like the animation for him, like, my gosh, whenever he runs, it looks terrible. Like, oh my gosh, this looks so freaking bad. And I watched it on Crunchyroll. I'm not blaming Crunchyroll for this. I blame the damn studio for this thing. Like, this is TMS. They're the one who made this series. And they put out this. Like, this guy has got the worst run I've ever seen in the anime. Like, almost like they just basically have him, like, walk. But they basically sped up the footage of him basically, like, a little bit. Like, have them run really fast. Yeah. So, then we see the kids basically spying on the director and his wife. And they reveal their genius plan. What is their evil plan? What are they going to do with these old ladies? They're going to use their money to buy a high-class hotel in Dubai. I'm like, really? Well, I heard them like, oh my gosh, this is so freaking lame. And apparently, Smileville is there. And eventually gets so rich off that, they buy their own freaking space station, buy themselves a freaking Latoya Komodo. I'm like, I get this is supposed to be like really cool animation-wise, but like, my gosh, this plan is so lame. Yes, not to steal their money to get like rich or whatever. Oh no, just to create duplicates of the Smile Village. I'm like, really? And apparently, Genta, Micho, and Ami apparently couldn't bother moving the window for some reason. Conan at least bothered to. But those three? Nah. And once the director sees like, Odin, and you see him running, and he just happens to find Micho really easily, picks him up, finds Ami underneath the freaking table, and picks up. Now, I get those two to be picked up here, but no problem. And then he picks up freaking Genta, a kid who's chubby, probably is pretty heavy of a kid, and this guy's able to live up no problem at all. And he brought us the record, like, lock in the basement, like, okay. And look at this guy basically tossing the boys in first, which, okay, that's actually quite smart. And then throw Amy right on top of Genta. I got to admit, that was actually pretty smart of him to do, because I think even he is not that cruel to basically throw two boys on top of a girl. Yeah, he's not that cruel to do that. Have her basically... By the way, when she landed on Genta's butt. Like, basically his backside. I don't think he had a problem with that at all because, well, he and Micho have got a crush on her, so they have no problem with her doing that. Maybe little kids, but these two got a crush on her. By the way, their romantic attachment to her, never mentioned in the whole episode. It's like they're just close friends, and like, okay, and then after locking the basement, Conan just miraculously there somehow. He must have followed them. He's about to free him with his magic shoes. And then Odin comes in, like... And then apparently he... Like, heh heh. And then, of course, so we have them signing their contract to use the money. And then, of course, Conan basically pops out his soccer ball out of his belt buckle and uses the high-powered shoes to wreck the table with the contracts on it. And apparently Odin was told off-screen, hey... Your bosses are going to basically use these old ladies' money to buy a high-class hotel in Dubai. Oh, by the way, I love basically Genta's reaction, like, where's Dubai? And it's, what's Dubai? And Conan's like, it's a high-class resort city in the Middle East. Okay, that part is true. I at least got to appreciate the fact that the animators remembered, oh yeah, Dubai is a high-class place. And, okay, I got to mention about the pictures on the screen. Because I'm not going to go forward and talk about this. It's like they just reuse the same image like 3 times. Like, oh, let's buy this hotel. Let's have this hotel. I'm like, about 3 of them are the same exact freaking building. Like, were the animators that lazy this episode? Like, my gosh. Oh, and by the way, and like they're angry, and of course, Olympic's like, oh, Basically, he wasn't happy that because he liked working there. He didn't like that he was using the old lady's money to buy a hotel. And the ladies instantly proclaimed their idol. I'm like, what? And he's like so happy about it. And then we see the detective boys minus Hybera. Yes, minus Hybera. And it's like, oh, here's Detective Boys. And Odin has been promoted from Chief of Security to Chief Director. Yeah, my guess is probably the Chief Director may have been demoted to, like, bus driver. And it was, like, tour guide. Okay. And instead of taking pictures of their previous idols, nope, it's the Chief Director. Okay. When the heck was he promoted? Like, wow. Good thing next week's episode is a lot more interesting than this piece of garbage of an episode. Like, wow. I'm like, the writing for this episode is so bad. And some of the animation, I mean, it looks great. Because this one thing at least got high praise in the series is the animation. But there's a couple negatives. Like, aside from the terrible plot of this episode, the animation has a couple problems. So one is repeating pictures. This multiple pictures basically to... Oh, by the way, when they're discussing the hotel, by the way, their names are Tango and Waltz. I'm like... So, they name each other after dance moves. And they start dancing. And yes, I do agree with Mitchell. This looks very creepy. Just like they're freaking smiling. Like, oh my gosh. It is so good the fact that next week's episode is a heck of a lot more interesting than this. Because that looks interesting. Aside from the four main detective boys, like, there is not many characters in this episode. You got maybe 8, 9. You got maybe like 11 characters. Excuse me. So, but the biggest criticism I have, aside from the terrible plot and the couple bad things in animation, is the fact this episode completely forgot about Hybera. They at least remember the fact Conan's got gadgets. Yep. They remember two of his gadgets. Two of his hundreds of gadgets he's got over the course series. Heck, his glasses is a gadget too. And did they bother to use this episode? No. Not really. I mean, last week's episode was a lot more interesting than this. But this episode, like, this is by far the first episode I've seen to be this bad since the Bugman episode. You know, where, like, the villager, like, the kids dress up as Bugmen, and all the adults are basically looking for treasure. Like, I haven't seen an episode this bad since that one. And that was, like, 50 episodes ago. Like, oh my gosh. This is so freaking bad. Makes me wish that basically they would have scrapped this episode because of how terrible it was. I hope whoever approved this episode probably felt guilty. I'm sure even probably any kids, like, aside from the one a good educational bit about Dubai, any kid watching this episode would be bored out of their freaking mind watching this damn thing. Like, they're probably asking, Mommy, why is he running? Why is he running so weirdly? I would not be surprised if some Japanese kid probably saw that and say that in Japanese. Or they're probably asking, why are these two people dancing? Or why do they want to get this hotel for? It's like so much stuff for this episode stuff to explain. And I'm sure that other kid probably like, where is Hybera? Because there's 5 members of Detective Boys, not 4. There has been 4 since like season 8. At least longtime fans basically easily point that out. Yeah, as far as I can tell, there's no explanation of why she was absent for this episode. Because they could at least offer something. Maybe she's like maybe she was sick. But no, she just not here. It's one of those times where the animators completely forgot she exists for reasons. Makes me kind of wish that they would have basically had an original episode featuring Masami Sarah, because she's a lot more interesting character than these two bimbos in this episode. Good gosh almighty. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for Single And this one's quite longer for Case Closed. Normally it's this long because I have a manga chapter. And here's kind of the dumb thing. There is no manga chapter released this week. I'm like, really? You had one released last week, but not this week? I don't know why. It's so weird. Yeah, as far as I can tell, there's no real explanation for this at all. Yep. So yeah, that's it for Single Review. I have roughly 4 more videos to do today. Next one is going to be another anime review, but basically it's this. Shows I would like to see their season 4. And I'll reveal how many episodes, how many shows it is, and I'll reveal what they are. And 2 of them, basically, I will discuss, are the least likely to get one. Yep. Produce next video. Bye.